Hey guys, welcome back, and thanks for joining us here at Totally Booked Readers. My name is Alyssa.
I'm Kiara.
And I'm Hope. We're three best friends with a passion for reading who enjoy getting together to talk about all kinds of books.
We're just here for the vibes, the good, the bad, and the spicy.
Stick around for the rest of this episode to listen to us argue against one-star reviews of some of our most beloved books that we struggle to accept any criticism on.
I would like to make a disclaimer before the episode. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions, including us. So if you don't agree, that's okay. We're not trying to yuck your yum. We're just trying to argue with people that are yucking ours.
Mm-hmm.
And I do plan on getting aggressive, but I will not be attacking someone's character, only their opinions.
Yep, only their reviews.
So,
and we would also like to preface that we have not read the reviews that we will be reading for each other's favorite books. One of our editors, Nick, he put this list together for us. We gave him our list of our favorite books, and he went on Goodreads and found these one-star reviews for us. So this is the first time that we're hearing them, and he wanted to give the disclaimer. He thought we might get a little hurt about some of these.
We heard that he was a little worried about how we might take some of these reviews. I'm hoping that we'll take it with just like a hit on the chin and we'll move on, but we might get really passionate, like Alyssa said. So we don't know. We're as unsure as you are.
Yeah. It'll be a surprise for everyone.
But we're going to get right into it.
So I will be reading the first one for Kiara.
And some of these are a little longer than the others, but we hope you enjoy just the reading of the one-star review, the arguing of the one-star review, the whole shebang.
And even though they're designated for one person, if anyone else has read the book, we will also be voicing our opinion.
I was going to say, I feel like Alyssa can chime in on this one as well, but this one was Kiara's pick. So it is Heartless by Elsie Silver. And the review says, while I liked the first book, this one didn't do anything for me. Ship has no chemistry, moves too fast, and for that nickname, I need compensation. Literally, I suffered. The word panties is probably mentioned on every page at least 2 times. I hate the panties talk.
That seems like a personal preference.
Well, listen, panty talk is important. It's how you gauge the book. Like, are they dry?
You're so right.
Are they on?
Oh my God.
Are they off?
If we're being honest, I don't remember what the nickname was. Do you?
I think it's Red.
How can you hate that nickname?
That's pretty basic. Let me make sure.
It's not Snuggle Muffin.
It's okay, I could judge a nickname if it was Snuggle Muffin.
Exactly, it's not that.
If Cade Eaton wants to call me Snuggle Muffin, Snubbleupicus, he sure can.
Honestly.
And my panties will be wet.
I don't understand that either because, listen, if you've read the Chestnut Spring series, I mean, there's an obvious hierarchy of these men. And if you read the first book, you're like, okay, yeah, love them. Perfect. Good couple. But if you read Willa and Cade's story, there's no way. I just don't understand it. I truly think they have, like, the best chemistry.
I don't understand. Also, it moved too fast. What are you reading? Like, do you want a sloth's pace? Do you want them to, like, I don't know.
Maybe they just enjoy a good slow burn.
But I guess so. I guess that's something to keep in mind because I really hate slow burn.
Which
so
is
maybe
why
that's why I liked it.
They enjoyed the first book because I'm currently reading the first book and that one's a slow burn. So maybe they just needed the build up.
Maybe you're right. Maybe they got used to Flawless. They got used to Rhett and Summer. And so Cade and Willow was a little bit too much for them. But they have to like either know or not know because he's a single dad. So if he doesn't think that he has any future with her, like he's gonna know pretty immediately, you would think.
Well, he tries to resist, but he just can't. Also, it's called passion. Get some.
I was gonna say he couldn't resist because the chemistry was there.
It's literally called passion. What does she want? Fine, I'll fuck you.
If I have
300
to.
pages in. Fine, I'll take your underwear off since you don't like panties. Your undergarments. I bet they read like old Victorian, like, he kissed me on my cheek, and then my undergarments became moist.
Honestly, I do wonder, like, what's the alternative to panties? Like, what would you prefer?
Maybe like name
All I can
boy
think of is
shorts.
undergarments, and that feels wrong.
Underwear, undergarments, under things, under clothing. Clothing you wear under pants.
Clothing.
Underpants.
Yeah, like, why do we have to be so proper?
Like
Come
Schmidt from New
on.
Girl. Your
Yeah.
underpants.
No, I'm like, how could you not like Willa the second you meet her?
Yeah.
And how could you not give Cade a chance to grow on you?
Well, all I've got to say is I wouldn't trust a book recommendation from this person.
And also, something to note, in Chestnut Springs, this is the first single dad trope that Elsie Silver has delivered to us, I believe. I could be wrong. But people love this book so much that she decided to make an entire series, the Rose Hill series, surrounding single dads. So how could you say that this book was a flop if it inspired greatness?
That's true. I don't know who you are, but I have to strongly disagree with your opinion, respectfully.
Respectfully.
Even though I kind of did attack your character. Which I said I wasn't going to do.
You did.
Enjoy your romantic slow burns.
Exactly. Okay, we're moving on.
Next. Hope. The next one is Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver.
Okay.
The male main character fucked the protagonist while in a dragon onesie. I'm putting that out there.
I don't remember that.
It was at the very end. Because he makes fun of her because she likes reading dragon smut.
Honestly, that's an inside joke. I mean, come on, let it go.
I mean,
but continue. Sorry, keep reading.
Him slurping his own ejaculate out of her kuka and spitting it into her mouth is where I draw the line. Nobody likes that vom. They're also idiot serial killers. There's no way they wouldn't have gotten caught. Like, have they never heard of gloves? Or does DNA evidence not exist in this world?
Okay. So I'm gonna touch on the dragon onesie first. I think that's adorable. He's playing into her likes. I think that's so fun.
It's a rom-com. It's not that serious.
It's on the back of the book. It's supposed to be funny.
Like, you wouldn't go that far to like make an inside joke with your significant other. I feel like I would.
I would. Oh yeah, sorry, Hope.
The second point, hey, everybody has their own likes and dislikes. Now, whether or not I would enjoy this in my own personal life, probably not. But reading about it is another, I feel like it's another thing.
I mean, a book can have a part in it that you don't like, and it can still be more than 1 star.
Yeah.
Was I a fan of the baby bird moment? No. No. Did I like the before and the after? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like we said earlier, we're not here to yuck anyone's yum as far as their 1-star reviews. I mean, people enjoy that. None of us, but people enjoy that, and so we should not be shaming them.
No. You don't need therapy if you like baby bird.
I don't like it when you call it that.
I like it. Anyways, as far as them being idiot serial killers, I'd like to hear your take, Hope.
I think they're pretty smart serial killers. They've gotten away with it for a really long time. Sure, DNA evidence might not be a thing. I don't know about why they don't wear gloves, but I think it is mentioned quite a few times that they go back and they clean up after themselves, and I think they're pretty smart for what they've done and to get away with it.
I think even for one of the kills, they talked about like taking 3 days to like cover their tracks. So the fact that they even have that amount of time, I feel like is a success.
And
They definitely didn't clean up after their last kill, though. Or the one with the chainsaw. That's all I'll say because I don't want to do spoilers.
I'm also a vibe reader. And was I caring about whether they were wearing gloves or not when I was reading this? No. Was I there for the good times and the vibes? Yes.
Also, who cares if they get caught? We don't want them to get caught. They're killing bad people. No, I'm sorry. We can't advertise.
I know.
You can't kill anybody. You're right. Sorry. You know what? Whoever wrote this 1-star review, I'll give it to you.
Honestly, if they get caught, they have to do their time.
They have to do
They
that.
have to
Time served.
atone.
But until then, let them fall in love. They can get conjugal visits. If they get caught.
Exactly.
Do they do that? Like, can you get prison to prison conjugal visits?
I really don't think that works.
Well, fuck.
So, in a way, I may agree with each of these points made, but I don't think that in any of these points, singly or put together, would warrant a 1-star review.
Me neither.
Okay. I hear that. Yeah, that's valid, I think. Okay, we're going to move on to Alyssa's first book. She chose Onyx Storm. I'm going to read this 1-star review. It says, my Hoover has more chemistry with fallen hairs behind the couch than Violet and Xaden. I'm just going to pretend I never read it. Please play along. She is so brave for publishing this.
You know what else you and your Hoover have in common? You both suck.
They're attacking the chemistry in these 1-star reviews.
They don't. They read the same book I did.
This was a man obsessed from start to finish.
Did they get a misprint? Did they read the first 2 books? Did they think this was a standalone? I have so many questions.
I love that she is so brave for publishing this because there's a purple heart afterwards. Crazy.
I honestly don't know how someone could miss the chemistry between Violet and Xaden. That just confuses me.
Especially how many times he called her love.
I love that nickname.
Yeah, that's good.
I love it.
I think you're wrong. I'm sorry.
That's literally our only
I
argument.
have to respectfully disagree. I think we read different books. I encourage you to go back and read Fourth Wing, maybe.
Try it again.
Yeah.
Iron Flame.
Iron Flame. Onyx Storm, they had chemistry. Are you referring to the fact that they couldn't,
Act on it?
act on the chemistry because of his issues he was having?
Because if I do recall, there was a very distinct fuck it moment, which led to
Tired of
what
being
I would say is
Some very
chemistry.
hot chemistry. Some very it's
Like furniture
spicy.
destroying chemistry.
Yeah.
What you said. The only explanation for this 1-star review is that they read a different book than we did.
That's
Or
okay.
they went into it with just critical eyes in general. Because we didn't. Once again, we took a step back. We just enjoyed the ride. Yes, we had to pay attention to some of the plot building. But overall, when it comes to Violet and Xaden, I was just eating up every single bit that I got. So I guess it could be skewed point of view.
You're probably gonna hate the next book.
Yeah.
Don't
Maybe
read it.
stay away.
Maybe DNF this series.
Yeah. Don't go to any midnight releases. That's for dang sure.
Okay. Kiara's next book is Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. Neither Hope or I have read this, so she will be defending this book on her own. And this is a very long review. This person had a lot to say.
I say maybe we can break it down as you go. I can address the points.
Yeah. Worst $6 I have ever spent in my life. Reading this book was the equivalent to ripping out each individual hair follicle on my head.
Honestly, where did you get your copy for $6? Send me the link. Moving on.
For real. I actually can't believe I avoided every spoiler on this book like the plague, thinking this series was going to be a banger. All that hard work for nothing. Wattpad, I'm so sorry for ever comparing this book to you. I've read books on Wattpad a million times better than whatever the fuck I just read.
I mean, Wattpad's a good platform. I have nothing to say about this. I mean,
I know, what's wrong with Wattpad?
I would say we have to get back into the let's get back into it.
All right, let's
Hold
begin.
on. Here we go.
The length. The length of this book is enough to make me go dizzy. 626 pages in the copy I had, but other copies had over 800 pages. What is going on here? Chloe Walsh, may I introduce you to an... You gotta move your cursor, babe.
I'm sorry.
You're okay. May I introduce you to an editor, perhaps? This book did not need to be as long as it was, and I genuinely thought, since it was so long, there would actually be shit happening in the book. I was mistaken. The book has absolutely nothing going on for about 99% of it, and that's me being generous.
I have a lot to say. Okay. Have you ever read a book in which you love the characters so much that you would genuinely read their grocery list? You know, their thoughts right before bed. If they wrote them down, you'd read it. You'd eat them up, even though they're delirious. That is this book. And so, yes, if you come from, say, a 500, 600 page fantasy novel or romantasy novel, this book has less plot. It just does. It's a romance set in real world Ireland in 2005. You have to go into it with that knowledge. And so, with that being said, the characters and their development and getting to see how realistic they are, that's enough for me to sit and eat up 626 to 800 pages every time.
How are there different versions? Is my question.
So I know that for just print copies, they're always going to be less than like Kindle versions.
Oh.
So Kindle will always be like, this is 752 pages. And a regular book will be like 500 pages.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why when you're reading Kindle and I'm reading a physical book, you're like, I don't really know what chapter you're on.
Okay.
Well, also, like, there's plot-driven books, and then there's character-driven books. I think you should look into that, babe. I think you're reading the wrong books.
And we just recognize, like, Alyssa and Hope, they don't love as much character-driven books. They probably like a good mix of character and plot, whereas I very much love character-driven books.
Yep. But Chloe Walsh must have thought she was saving the environment the way she recycled every single conversation and plot over and over and over and over again. Basically, just Johnny driving Shannon home every day and them having the same conversation. Didn't realize he was signing up to be her chauffeur.
Listen, I totally get that. I too got annoyed at I think of Johnny when we think about this. He hyper focused on their age difference for the entire book, even though they were like 2 years apart. Come on.
That's not a big enough age gap to
So I get
dwell
that.
on.
I definitely agree with that. But as far as other conversation, I mean, there was probably just a lot of resistance. Like, no, I can't be with him. No, I can't be with her. But that's a slow burn for you.
Slow burn. Shannon, why in the fucking hell did I need to hear how small Shannon, like the river, is every 5 seconds?
She's malnourished.
There is absolutely no reason for me to be reading about how small she is the number of times I did. We fucking get it. I was tired of it by the second page. Yes, the second page. You read that correctly. It had already been mentioned at least 5 times by then, and then a million more times afterwards. Shannon, like the river and her tiny bone structure, she's so small and unable to do anything for herself. She needs literally anyone else to help her do the most basic human tasks. The way this character is infantilized and then sexualized is disturbing. They constantly remind us of how tiny she is and how she acts like a child. She legitimately cannot do anything without needing help from someone else. You would think she would have some sort of development by the end of the book, but she remains unchanged. Her whole home life plot is explored so little you could literally forget it's a factor. The book had more than enough pages to delve into that plot, but all we're supposed to care about is that this girl's constant loop of a relationship with the popular rugby player, not the reason why she is literally emotionally and physically stunted. She acts like a child, but we're told she's actually mature. LOL. Okay. And then they've loved to mention her body every 5 seconds and how Johnny and the other boys find her.
That was crazy. She's neglected, malnourished, abused. Take that into account first and foremost. Step out of your privilege. Sorry.
Oh, she called her.
I had to. The writing makes you deeply connect to her experience, her siblings' experiences, and it's character driven. You're learning about people who have different lives than you. That's what it is. I think that there was a quote in there that kind of addressed like the maturity piece where we're like, oh, she's so young, she's blah, 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 but she's so mature. I think they were talking about like, I once read somewhere where like when you mature with damage, not with age. So yes, she's young. She's been through a lot already. I think they go way into her family life. That's the reason why she can't connect with her peers the way that she wants to. She just wants to be a normal kid. And she can't because she's having to worry about not being able to eat, being beaten, having to worry about her siblings. So that's all I have to say about that. I love Shannon. I'll defend Shannon with my life.
You're selling me. I think I should read it.
I love her.
Well, Johnny.
Let's hear about Johnny.
Genuinely thought his name was Josh the entire first half of the book. It's not our fault if you can't read.
Josh.
I hate this kid. All he did was talk about his dick for half the book. He's a teenager. Anyway, and
His dick was also broken, guys.
it was broken.
He plays rugby and he pulled his groin. Like broke his.
I mean, pulling a groin and breaking a dick is.
It was a little bit of both. It was like a tear and a.
Ooh,
He
okay.
had to have surgery. That's real shit. Don't diminish that.
HIPAA violation. How hot and tiny Shannon, like the river, is, and everything he wanted to do to her.
She's hot. I don't know what to say.
Have you read a romance book before? That's pretty par for the course.
I say he's hot. She's hot for a teenage boy. This is a teenage boy.
Being inside his head was the most painful experience of my life. The repetitive, nonstop inner monologues really made me homicidal. Pure torture, it was putting myself through this. I could skip pages and still wind up back in the same spot. He loved to create problems for him and Shannon, like the river, out of thin air. One of the dumbest characters I've read about in a while. It was fun laughing at him sometimes, though, so at least there's that. Where was the love, the chemistry, the connection? There was over 600 pages and somehow nothing to convince me these two were made for each other. Johnny needs to get his ass back to Dublin, and Shannon, like the river, needs years of therapy and a stable household.
So now you want to mention her mental health. You didn't care about it earlier.
When you trashed her, what if she reads
Honestly.
this?
I agree with you wholeheartedly about Johnny going back and forth, like having the same stressful like conversation. We talked about this already. You and me agree. That's the one thing we're going to agree on. But we do have to recognize that he is at war with himself. He's 17 years old. Leave him alone. And then did you read Redeeming, or is it Binding 13, Keeping 13? Did you read Keeping 13? Did you?
I'm gonna assume no.
Read it. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Thanks for listening to my TED Talk.
I can't agree or disagree because I haven't read this book, but I will say I do trust Kiara's opinion over yours. So
I can't agree or disagree, but I will throw out there that for someone who seemed so uninterested in the book, you really put a lot of thought and effort into this 1-star review.
A lot.
I feel like this book took up quite a lot of time in your
Brain
life
space for
and brain
sure.
space. Which, does it really warrant a 1-star if it took up that much time?
Honestly, you read all 600 or 800 pages?
Self-reflection is important, babe.
Once again, we're not attacking anyone's person.
No, we're just recommending that you
That you reevaluate, please.
Man, we're
Just
gonna get
kidding.
canceled.
Go into it with less critical thinking. Okay, moving on. We're talking about one of Hope's favorite books now, Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout. Okay. Deja vu hit me when I started reading it. Twilight all over again. I liked Twilight, gave it 3 stars. I don't judge it, but I do judge this one. Just replace vampires with aliens and you have Obsidian. Any thoughts, or should I keep going?
I don't know where they're pulling Twilight from. It makes no sense to me. It's a whole other dynamic. Other than it being that they're in high school, maybe?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not totally different plots, totally different vibes, totally different family dynamic.
Does
Totally
he
different
shimmer in the light?
No.
Does he tell her he's dangerous?
Yeah.
Is there an interspecies love triangle?
Not a love triangle, but interspecies, yes.
See, it just might be a small confusion, really.
But okay, so even if it was like parallel between Twilight and you're getting Twilight deja vu, obviously Twilight is a big hit. And if you liked a book, how are you going to give it 3 stars?
Yeah, that was crazy. That's a
That's
crazy
insane to
rating
me.
system you got there, friend. I'm just trying to like get in her headspace. Does she figure it out and corner him in the woods and say, "I know what you are. You're an alien"? Okay, Hope. Maybe
A little
friend.
bit, now that I'm going
Maybe
back
our
to
friend
that,
Hope
okay.
has to reflect.
Maybe
Okay.
you're right, friend.
Okay, continuing. The heroine sucks. Sucks. And so does her love interest. And this is so popular. I don't even.
Okay, well then you don't get to even because they're fantastic together.
You get
Damon
to R.
Black is fantastic. He is that I guess I do see a little bit of the Twilight thing where it's like I don't want to bring you into this world, but only in that aspect. I mean,
Does he leave her for her own good? Okay, so he doesn't abandon her.
What is it about the heroine that sucks?
I honestly have no idea because she's so smart. She figures it out. She becomes best friends with the main guy's twin sister. So much fun. Their relationship is super fun.
Is this something that we as the reader are not privy to? The fact that he's an alien? Or do we learn this really early on? Or do we learn with her?
You learn with her.
Okay. So
But
are you
you know
just mad that you didn't figure it out?
What?
I mean, sort of. Yeah, you piece together that there's something off with the family. There's something different.
What brought her to alien? Did like he turn green at one point? Did he beep beep boop boop speak?
Not beep beep boo boo.
No.
Like what? Because there's very specific markers for a vampire.
I mean,
Yeah.
I
Very
guess she went
specific
through
markers.
those things first. I
Mhm.
mean,
So he doesn't drink blood.
no.
He doesn't shimmer.
No.
He doesn't. Does he smell her like really good? Intensely?
No.
No.
No, so so it's called the Lux series. So the main thing, they have a lot to do with like light. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie I Am Number Four.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's very reminiscent of that for me in a way. With like
Okay.
aliens and
Okay.
light and family, and I get it. If you don't like sci-fi, if you don't like reading about high schoolers, but the banter and the connection between them, and it's a fun read. I don't understand how people can just like if you don't like the book, just don't read it. I don't understand.
Yeah, I hear ya. Like, how do we get all the way through if we hate it so much?
Mhm.
I mean, the premise is we're making 1-star reviews. I don't think I've ever rated a book 1 star.
I don't think I have either.
If it's gonna be less than a 3 star, I'm DNFing. I'm not reading it.
I also don't like, I'm not one to post, like, I'll rate it for my own, records,
Knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
but I don't really like
Records.
post, like, even if I'm raving about it, I don't really rave about it on Goodreads. I don't, but I've never rated a book 1 star before.
Mm. No, me neither.
Nope.
But
Okay.
people should, because that's how you get accurate ratings.
Yeah.
You know?
But with this amount of detail. Well,
Yeah.
I guess this one was a shorter one, but still.
Yeah. Okay.
So for Alyssa and Kiara, I guess you can help her defend this. This review says
It's for Reckless
it is. I'm so sorry.
by
It is
Elsie Silver.
yes, Reckless by Elsie Silver.
I'm a big Theo fan, so.
Yeah, I like Cade. Alyssa likes Theo.
Two of my least favorite tropes right off the bat. Not to mention, I didn't realize this was book 3 in a series until I'd finished it. Well, that seems like a you problem.
That's your fault.
Why didn't you research?
That is your fault. Also, she didn't tell us the trope, so I can't even argue. I'm assuming it's pregnancy.
Yeah. I don't know
It's
what the
one
other
of
one
them.
is.
Grow up.
A black cat, golden retriever.
Maybe.
How do you dislike that,
If
honestly?
you don't like pregnancy tropes, honestly, I understand it because I used to not, but grow up. It happens. It's real life.
It happens. We have to highlight these stories too. Yep.
Continuing on with the review, just like her other books, the main female character is so tiny and short and small. Just in case the author didn't mention it enough, Winter is petite with a firm ass.
Bounce a quarter off it. Okay. I mean, on one hand, I get you
I get it.
because representation is
I
important.
get it. Yeah.
So I can't really argue with you there. I just,
But also, if that's how she's built, that's how she's built.
yep.
But I would understand the frustration of it being mentioned multiple times. However, I didn't notice that. Maybe it's because I'm not critically thinking at the same time as reading. And so for that, I apologize.
Yeah, I'm kicking my feet, giggling.
I'm not paying attention to how small she is. I really am not.
I wasn't really thinking
I'm
about
paying
it.
attention to Theo, the man he is.
Yeah. And her firm ass.
And the end of this review says, also, why is this family/friend group just one giant cesspool? They're all dating/married to each other.
They're family.
Babe, it's following
It's not incest.
brothers. It's following brothers.
The only thing that happened here is that Summer has a friend who's with a brother. Summer has a sister who's with a brother. I mean, I guess she's kind of right.
No, that's not incest.
I
It's not
didn't
a
say
ce-
it was
And
incest.
it's not a cesspool.
I didn't say it was incest.
It's following brothers. Would
Honestly, that happens when you have a group of friends.
Huh?
You're with those people constantly 24/7.
Look at
You
me right
make
here.
connections. Oh, wait. We're
Look me
looking at
right
a
here
list.
in the
Hold
eyes.
on.
If you married someone and he was amazing, hot, he had this wonderful family, they're rich, they own this giant ranch, and he has a brother who's hot also. And nice, or He has a brother. And you have a friend in need? You're telling me you wouldn't set them up? That's a bad friend.
Be pissed.
Mic drop.
Mic drop. Are you kidding? I would be, like, inviting it would be like a club, and I would be the person with the VIP list. Like, I would be like, "I have a brother for you."
You'd be like, Hope, get over there.
I'd be like, "I like you. I have a brother for you. Hold on."
Hold on. And there's this brother, and there's that brother, and there's this cousin.
Yeah. I have to agree. I have to disagree. I don't think it's a cesspool. I think that's crazy. I think that they're close and they're friendly, and that's what makes it so magical. Also, the fifth brother married someone not involved at all.
Not a friend, not a sister,
Mm-mm. Yep.
not a cousin.
Maybe they didn't know that because they didn't finish the book.
And they went straight to the third book.
They started.
How do you know it's a cesspool
I just
if
wanna-
you didn't read the first and second book?
I just want to say I appreciate the fact that you didn't trash my man Theo.
Yeah.
Because how could you possibly?
Kept his name
Anyway,
out
none
of their
of
mouth.
these reasons are 1-star review worthy.
I think maybe the trope, some people just like shut down
With the tropes,
at the sight of a trope they don't like.
perhaps.
I don't blame you.
Okay.
So I have one for Kiara now. This
Yay.
is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It says, predictable, interminably boring. Flip to any page and I can tell you what's happening. Daisy is doing drugs. Daisy is doing stupid shit as a result of drugs. Simone is hoping for Daisy to seek rehab. Hit songs are being crafted. Billy is fighting back addiction for his family. Eddie is whining over his lack of creative control. Other characters mumble something unimportant.
That's a lot of things to fit in any page that you turn to.
I was about to say, that's like a lot of like, I could write a book about that.
It just seems like, yeah, a summary of the book.
That's a lot.
Yeah, there's so many characters and so much going on all at once, and you're following all of their lives and how they interconnect. I don't see how that's 1-star worthy. I mean, there's a lot of discrepancy there. There's a lot of differences. Continue, Hope.
Remember when VH1's Behind the Music was big? And eventually all the rock band stories started to sound similar? Struggle, success, creative clashing, musical epiphanies, drugs, band hookups. Every story was the same. Now imagine shelling out $17 to read the snooziest transcript of that story.
I think what you're sharing is that story is so real. It happened to so many different people. And so she's depicting that in her writing in the form of a transcript as if the characters were telling a tell all, which is exactly what it is. So if you love dialogue in a book, how could you not like this? That's all it is. It's only dialogue, it's only banter with the interviewer. So it's really good. I'd like to mention that the characters felt so real throughout this because they go through such real struggles and they're so flawed. I convinced my mom to read this. She read the entire 300 pages and then Googled to see like what the band members were up to now. She didn't realize they weren't real.
Oh.
She thought that they like had just picked like a fake name but told their story. So she's looking them up. Honestly, it's just saying that my mom's wholesome, but whatever. But that's how real the transcript felt, was that like they were talking to real individuals. And so that means Taylor Jenkins Reid did a good job of explaining the storylines of the exact rock band stories that you're talking about. So you're just gassing her up at this point. And $17 for a book. Where are you buying this? We got a $6 copy earlier. $17. Where are the 10 to 11? What's going on here?
And to finish this review out, they said, reviews insist that the characters are so alive. I can't believe this isn't a real band. Well, that's because it's a story we've heard 1,000 times. I suppose I could have guessed that from the blurb. I was just hopeful Reed's writing would deliver it in a punchy book, but it felt short for me.
So you wanted fake. You didn't want real life. You didn't want like a depiction of what actually happens in real life.
And if it felt short, does that mean you just wanted more?
You probably shouldn't have picked it up. They told you exactly what it was in the blurb. What do you mean? Anyways, I would like to share a quote. Ready?
We would love a quote.
Everything that made Daisy burn made me burn. Everything I loved about the world, Daisy loved about the world. Everything I struggled with, Daisy struggled with. We were two halves. We were the same. And also, men often think they deserve a sticker for treating women like people. You're telling me you didn't enjoy that?
Ain't that the truth, sister?
The women from this story? Who gives a shit about Billy?
For real.
Sorry. Period.
These kind of books hurt my feelings, which is why I don't think I read these type of books.
I don't blame you.
But if you're going to pick up the book and you read the blurb and you know what it's about, I don't understand how you can be mad at it.
Yeah, I like to be hurt. I like to recognize real stories. And the fact that she did it in a fictional way, I just applaud her. I think she did a really good job. That's all. Thank you.
I love that.
Okay. I'm really excited for the next one. Say You Swear by Megan Brandy. This is specifically for Hope.
This is going to hurt my
Like Kiara
soul.
can also argue.
I feel equally as passionate about this book.
Oh my fucking gosh. This book is awful. How the hell does it have a 4.6 rating?
I have to stop right there. 4.6 rating.
That's crazy.
And you're rating it a 1 star, and you're yelling at everyone else who rated it a 4.6.
I gave it a 5.
I gave it a 5. Continue.
The dialogue is choppy and very immature and sounds like a tween girl wrote it. There's zero emotion, and I'm not feeling any chemistry between the protagonists. She's been in love with this guy Chase for 6 years, but from what we get to see of him, I can't figure out why.
Pause.
True.
That's very true.
Because she is immature. They're young. She's grown up with this kid. You're telling me you don't have like a
childhood
family
crush
friend
or a childhood crush. The first
that can do no wrong?
Yes, the first person you like when growing up through that maturity, obviously to them they're your standard, you know?
Yeah.
And she hadn't lived through that heartbreak yet. And once she had, obviously where we picked up in that book, we don't get all of the backstory of why she fell in love with him. It was growing up with him and spending that time together. Yeah.
And when you're 15, 16, 17, like having that experience with, you know, someone that you like, and you're gonna tell me that like you weren't dramatic. You weren't like, oh my god, my life's over. I'll never love anew.
Well, he's a wimp and an ass.
Facts.
Yes.
I keep having to go back and reread sentences because the author jumps from one sentence to the next with no lead in, and I keep thinking I'm missing something. There are way too many side characters to keep straight, and the twin brother is obsessive and creepy. A lot of reviews talk about how awesome Noah is, but I'm 135 pages into the book.
Stop.
You barely read it. Stop.
You just threw yourself under the bus.
You are not a reliable source. We can't trust you.
I must touch on her brother.
What the
hell? They had a relationship. So sorry that their family was like, he was protective over.
They had a good relationship.
Yes.
They're good siblings who care for each other.
And yeah, we were getting to know Noah. 135 pages in.
It gets worse.
Oh my
Keep
gosh.
going.
35 pages into the book, and he's only appeared in 2 pages of the story so far.
I wonder why.
I'm done. I have zero interest in these characters or what happened to them. Once again, I hate myself for getting sucked in by the hype. Books about teenagers and their over-the-top, ridiculous, angsty problems are not for me. So she DNF'd it before she even got to know the male main character.
How do you have the right to rate? If you didn't even get a fourth of the way into the book.
I will say this is a very long sports romance book.
Yes.
It is very long, the lead up and the build up and those first 135 pages before we get to meet Noah build our female main character.
That's our backstory.
It's the backstory for her.
Mhm.
And you didn't even give Noah a chance. He's
I would say they develop
my heart.
such like a wholesome and beautiful
the
friendship
friendship and
from the get-go. Even though you can tell from reading it and the subtle clues that you get that this man is a man who's obsessed.
Yes.
Obsessed with her as a human, like really proud of her, wants her to excel and succeed. He doesn't care if he's a part of her life in the way that he wants to be. He just wants the best for her. And that's what makes him like the perfect male main character. Like he's just constantly building her up.
Yes.
And he's like, I don't want to be a part of this if you're not in a space where you can be the best version of yourself. And you didn't even get there.
He's all for her. And I feel like I shouldn't even waste my breath trying to argue with you because you don't even know what I'm talking about because you quit at 135 pages, you big quitter.
Wow.
Quitter.
There are
Boo.
so many pieces of them two together that just gets fostered and grows, and
Yes.
you don't even get to what I think would be the part that people can actively like criticize and judge for, which is
Their relationship together.
the event that happens towards the end of the book. Like I could understand criticism on that.
That
I
one.
get it.
Yeah.
But you didn't even get there.
You didn't even get to the worst part.
You didn't even get there. I couldn't even argue with that. You're right. That's crazy. But to attack Noah before you even know him, he's the best part of that book.
He's the book.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay.
Okay. So we are moving on. I have for Alyssa, Kiara can chime in. Heir of Fire by Sarah J. Maas. I don't, okay.
We hope there's no spoilers, but there might be.
Heads up
Okay.
to anyone who hasn't read Throne of Glass. This is a part of Throne of Glass series. Okay. The 1-star review says, main points. 1. Never, ever introduce a point of view side character in the 3rd book of a series if they do not meet a main plot character within that book.
You know who they're talking about?
Yeah, but that's wrong.
You just have to. It's a part of the overall series and world and
If you
story.
didn't have her point of view, you would not know what's going on for the rest of the book because it develops like the rest of the world. Like
Yeah.
what's going on.
They're introducing
other-
that side of it
Yeah.
through her.
This is a war, honey.
We have to know all sides of the war.
A war. Not just one. This is not a plot driven book. This is a this is not a character driven book. This is a plot driven book with character stuff.
Duh.
But
Yeah.
that's developing the plot.
I would say there's a lot going on. We have a lot to follow, and obviously we're learning in the point of views of the characters that we're following. And I'm sorry, but Selena, Kale, and Rowan are not going to be able to tell the story of Manon.
Of the witches and what's going on there. So, humbly disagree.
Point 2.
Point 2, written in the review, says, Rowan is very good and a good love interest. Edit. After reading Queen of Shadows, I retract this.
I think we need to take that part out. Why'd you come back to your Heir of Fire review?
How are you putting that he's very good, but you rated it 1 star?
I was
And it has nothing to do with Heir of Fire.
Also,
if you rated it 1 star, how did you continue with the series?
also, how can you say that Rowan is not a good love interest after Queen of Shadows?
In Queen of Shadows.
Did you?
You Heir of Fire.
You judged him for.
Arguably.
You judged him for what? He was worse than Heir of Fire.
I know. That's what I'm
arguably.
saying.
You judged him for one action in Queen of Shadows. Like actions speak louder than words, and she took that one scene and. Okay, so sorry.
That
I
has
disagree.
nothing to do with Heir of Fire. Moving on.
Point 3 from the review says, writing is downright unprofessional with the telling instead of showing. If Rowan and Selena are communicating, quote, with their eyes, you can't write out what they're saying to spell it out for the audience. You have to show that connection, which she is capable of doing for sure. I'm sorry. Do they not know they're reading a book?
Yeah, how are you supposed to like it's okay, no matter how close I am to a person, I can't like communicate with my eyes a whole conversation. And they're getting the point across that they have a deeper connection than just like a normal human interaction.
Do they just not like dialogue? Do they just
I,
not like to talk?
I would say I'm sure like you do have those like looks that you give to your
Yeah.
husband, and he's able to pick up on it of like, now come on.
Right, like, oh, he can gauge my mood based
Yeah.
off my like, oh, she's not happy. Oh, she wants to leave. Oh, she needs something. Oh, but
And he's seeing through that through your eyes.
yeah.
But you still need to communicate.
Yeah, for sure.
Point 4. Nice job using all these dead girls to further the plot. How about killing a boy for once? Jerk.
Honestly, you ate.
I'll give you that.
You're so right.
For real.
Yeah, this was a tough book for the girls. This was.
It's hard being a girl in any world.
Especially this one. Point 4, valid. I love that. Jerk.
Okay, point 5 from the review. They said both Kale and Dorian's arcs were forced and just didn't make sense. Dorian's chemistry wasn't believable, and Kale's problems weren't actually problems.
I disagree majorly. Dorian's chemistry, I'm assuming you're talking about with his love interest in that book. And you have to keep in mind that Dorian had felt in love with Selena, and then she literally chose his best friend over him. And so he's like, I feel like he's trying to find love for himself. He's trying to convince himself that he's lovable.
And that's so human.
And that's so human. And also so like it's humbling to have a prince and someone who's not in nobility like
Yeah.
together.
And
like, for
also
him.
the fact that she kind of said like both of their arcs were forced. I don't think that they're fully arced. We're on book 4.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And Kale's problems weren't actually problems. Yes, they were.
I thought so.
They were big problems.
Yeah. It's
He
literally his best friend.
uh-huh.
He's having to like protect, and he has duty, and he has roles, and he has responsibilities, and he has to measure, like he has to keep all of those in check.
And what he just found out at the end of book 2, like that completely Kale is a man of honor. He is a man of duty. He believes in that he has a job to do, and he's going to do it to the best of his ability, and he takes honor in that, and he has pride in that. And now finding out what he did at the end of book 2 like sends him through a whirlwind, because now what he believed and what his job is doesn't match with how he feels now. And this is the first time in his life where he's starting to realize like maybe what I've thought and what I've believed and what I've done my entire life is not actually what's right.
Yeah, it's entirely shifted. And like his whole worldview is just imploded.
That's gotta be a huge that's a problem.
That alone is a problem.
Yeah.
So anyway, I digress. I could literally have an entire
write a dissertation.
I could over the Throne of Glass series. I could write a dissertation about each book of the Throne of Glass series, okay? So we won't get into that right now. But
we still have a 0.6 from this review.
Oh, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Gosh.
Point 6 says Aiden. Is it Aiden? I haven't read it.
Adion.
Adian?
Yeah.
Adion?
It's Adian.
Okay, so sorry. Adion is also very good. You can stay. Edit. I redact this after reading Queen of Shadows.
Same thing stands.
Wait till you
How
get to
can you
Kingdom
go
of
back
Ash.
to Air of Fire and change your edit? That's a spoiler. But I don't agree. I still don't agree. In
But
Queen of
also,
Shadows,
if this person doesn't like Adian in Queen of Shadows,
That should
I
be in the Queen
cannot
of
imagine.
Kingdom of Ash.
Wait,
I
I'm
cannot
just
imagine.
saying, if they didn't like this person in Queen of Shadows, shouldn't it be in that book's review? Why does it have anything to do with their Air of Fire review? That makes zero sense of them.
Maybe she felt it added to
Also,
the
none of these
one-starness.
things would qualify a 1-star review in my opinion. But anyway, we
I
can move
guess if
on.
you thought their arcs were forced, even though it's only at the beginning part of the whole entire series.
I
So,
guess
but I don't know.
it's a 7-book series. Anyway, so for Kiara, we have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. LMAO, what is this? I have never struggled through a romance book as much as I did with this one. Nora, mid Charlie, mid Libby, mid. I'm sorry, but there is not a single thing about this book that makes up for the fact that there is no substance to it. It feels like Emily Henry considered every trope that sells and decided to bunch them all up and incorporate them into this mess of a book. Some of it was just so unappealing. I'm so disappointed.
Wait, keep reading. Just go ahead and finish it.
I was so into the siblings' relationship until they unironically referred to each other as sissy. Please.
You know, that seems like a personal problem because what you decide to name your sibling is your problem. Anyways, to kind of address the mid of it all, I guess, I have always looked at Book Lovers and thought it's such an understated love. Like, there is no need to shout it from the rooftops, to like sacrifice themselves for each other because they just get each other. And that's all that matters. It's not for you. It's not for me. It's not for all the other characters. It's for the two of them. I think that there's a level of banter in this book that is just, it's equally as good to any romantasy book because they're just so quick with each other. Like, they are on it. I see you and your husband, and I see you guys going back and forth, and you guys are just on the same page. It's that level of connection the entire book. But I think what needs to be stated, and this is all that matters to me, doesn't have to matter to you, and that's okay. But whoever's listening, just know that these characters are individually capable. So Charlie does not need Nora, and Nora does not need Charlie, but they enhance each other's lives and they just make each other better individuals because they're challenging each other. So if you don't like that challenge, that's fine, say less. It's not meant for you.
I feel like that makes for such a healthy relationship.
They're so good.
Yeah.
And once again, we have another. I was going through my books and I was like, oh my God, they're just making such like important quotes about women and their experiences. Like, I know that Nora is heavily judged and people heavily don't like her. I think out of a lot of Emily Henry's books, but I love her personally. And there's a quote that says, "That's the thing about women. There's no good way to be one." I'm sorry, what?
If that's not the truth, I
What?
mean, speak it louder, please.
I was attacked. Something to keep in mind is Charlie is always aware of her.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I have a couple like main quotes in my life, but the number one that comes up in books is, "To be seen is to be loved." If I see a character that displays that trope or that like feeling, to be seen is to be loved, I'm set. It doesn't matter. Like, that's real.
I'm reading this book immediately.
I hope that convinced you.
Kiara has sold me. I'm done.
And I've said that you would really like Book Lovers because it's such oldest sibling core. Like, for me, it's been like a mixture. Like, I've been the oldest sibling, I've been the middle sibling. It just kind of mixes based on my experience. but Alyssa's always been the oldest sibling with like children much younger than her.
And they
And
call me
so-
Sissy.
Yeah.
So and everyone in my household calls me Sissy. So Sissy, will you pass the butter or whatever? So when my mom calls me, "Hey Sissy, how are you?" So I'm offended. Please.
Please.
I am Sissy.
You're called out.
So I hope that I convinced you to read Book Lovers. I hope that's what you got out of this episode.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We're going to another one of Hope's favorites. It's Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And here we go. In my opinion, this is just a book about Victorian snobs talking about snobby things, and I don't like snobs. I used to hate Mr. Darcy until I found out he has 10,000 a year. Now I'm madly in love with him. The unromantic linking of money and love are just too much for me. It just makes women of this time period seem pathetic.
They're not all snobs. Let me say that her family did not come from money. So it was not necessarily something they were used to. So I mean in that time frame when you get put into the situation that Elizabeth was put into of seeing that type of society and how they function, I mean, it would be like a regular person like one of us getting thrown into a millionaire's society. It's hard to comprehend,
I couldn't
think.
imagine.
But I don't think that the love or the infatuation was solely focused on the money. Like, yes, it could have played a part in it just because it was a totally different societal way of living. But that wasn't what drew them into their relationship. It honestly hindered it for over half of the book, I would say, because they came from such different worlds. They had to overcome that difference. So
I would say like getting thrust into that experience
Yes.
when you've never been a part of that. It's important to recognize that there are people like that.
Yes.
And if they've never been a part of your life experience, then they have some humbling to have to be had. And so maybe that's just what they needed to like learn and grow.
Absolutely.
And I've never read this, but that would be difficult. I feel like there would be a lot of like fighting against like your roles. Like, oh, you're supposed to be this. You're supposed to be this. Okay, well, what if I don't want to be?
Yeah, and their families, especially Elizabeth's, I mean, putting so much pressure on it because they don't have that money. And yes, in that time period, they were expected to get money back for marrying off their daughters, their children. It's just that is what happened in that era.
Unfortunately, women were a transaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's real. It's what happened in real life. I know we don't see it or picture that as now because thankfully we have moved on from that as a society. But it is something that families and they had to deal with back then.
I have more. Just wait. It's my goal to read all of the classics that appear on the greatest books of all time list every year. So I'm glad I can cross this one off. It's possibly the most boring book I've ever read. Jesus Christ, just have sex.
I feel like that would be me.
It's not a smut book. It's not something that you would find on a lot of, you wouldn't find it on Book Talk nowadays. You're not gonna find it on the most popular reads of 2025 because it is one of those classical books. And again, it goes back into that era of when it was written and the era of when it was written about. It was a very taboo subject to talk about that through books. This is more of an emotional connection, an emotional relationship, very character driven. One of the only character driven books that I enjoy.
Yeah.
Or have had the pleasure of enjoying because I haven't given many others a chance, I guess.
I can give you like this one you're going to like more in the future.
Yes.
You'll just have to try them out.
So again, it's classical. If you're going to give the classicals a try, let me tell you, sweetheart, you're not going to like many of the classics because they're they don't have sex in the classics. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
So, like, when I think of, like, the classics, or when I think of books that are, like, the greatest books or whatever,
Yeah.
I don't think about necessarily what the book's about. I think about the impact that the book had.
Yes.
Mhm.
And this book had, like, a major impact in that it was, like, a romance novel that was so widely accepted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Probably just like paving the path.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
For
also
men
that,
to
like,
come.
Jesus Christ just have sex. That reminds me of the TikToks I've been seeing about, like, the Throne of Glass series, and it'll be like, "But does the books have spice?" And it's, like, people showing the Throne of Glass books, and they're like, "It doesn't need
Does
spice.
it matter?
Doesn't matter." Yeah, how do
Yeah.
you don't need spice when it's this good.
This book has a lot of tension, a lot of, again, figuring out the societal weavings of their relationship and how they fit into each other's lives. And you don't need the spice for this one. It's just
The
fantastic.
yearning is enough.
The yearning.
Bring back yearning.
Bring it back.
God.
Gentlemen, we need yearning.
Yeah. Anytime I read a book now, I am looking for that. Like, I'm like, oh, the yearning is happening in this book, or oh, we're not hitting the yearning. I got to take a breather, but I'm not
I
writing a
agree.
1-star
You know,
review.
you know who
Okay.
yearns really good?
Who?
Zayden.
Oh,
He's a yearner.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll move on. um, we are moving on for Alyssa, Bride by Allie Hazelwood.
I want to say, I know this is controversial, so I'm going to try and not get my feelings hurt, but I really liked this book. And I know it's not, like, the best novel ever, but it just was what I needed at the time.
Yeah.
And I just really loved it when I read it, so.
I also read it, so I might be able to help Alyssa with the arguing. I didn't love it as much as her, but I respect her love for the book. So that's what I'm taking into this review. Let's hear it.
The review says, "This is for you weird fuckers that wanted a Jacob and Renesmee spinoff. Allie Hazelwood needs jail time for the last 10 pages. Was I entertained? Unfortunately. Was it good? No. This book should have never been allowed to see the light of day." Yeah, this did not serve.
Not spelled like that.
Just so everyone else knows, they spelled not as in like tying a knot.
Okay, I'd like to preface that I am, I guess, a weird fucker because I loved this book. But I did not want a Jacob and Renesmee spinoff, and I have no idea where she's
I don't get the
getting this from.
connection.
What
I
is
really
she-
don't.
What is she getting this from? Because Misery is like an adult woman.
No,
Her
and it's an
name is
arranged
Misery?
marriage.
Yes, bitch. Are you
Oh.
judging?
No, I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
It's an arranged marriage.
It's an arranged
Which
marriage.
a lot of people love that trope, so I'm like surprised.
I'm so confused. And Allie Hazelwood needs jail time for the last 10 pages?
Maybe I don't remember the last 10 pages. But I thought that the last 10 pages was like reveal, like packed. Like there were surprises, and there were like things that we were finding out.
Was it maybe
that
like
people were keeping hidden?
Was it maybe too like info dumpy or something?
I don't think so.
There is a child in this book, but it has nothing to do with the romance. The child is not involved in that in any
No.
sort of way, shape, or how. And there's like the ending of the book suggested that there was going to be a sequel, which there's gonna be.
October 7th.
I'm so excited. I'm gonna cry.
Love
I'm so
that.
excited.
Was I entertained? Unfortunately.
Was it good? No.
I was in that part of like, yes, was I entertained? Absolutely. Was it unfortunate? No. It was entertaining. That's all that it takes.
Was it good? Yeah. I mean,
It was mindless. It was
I
like
thought it was good.
I was flowing.
I think inherently to be entertained, something
Has
can
to
be good
Good
to a
enough.
degree.
Good enough.
I just don't understand. Like, I'm really confused, and if someone could really fill it in for me on what she's talking about between the Jacob and Renesmee thing,
Yeah.
I don't I don't get that.
Because we don't condone that.
Yeah.
No.
No.
I
But
would
it didn't
not.
happen in this book.
It did not happen. Misery is an adult woman, again, I'll say, living on her own, has a job, all of this stuff, like, in the real world, and
Was
then has
she
to leave it all for this arranged marriage that her family is basically sacrificing her.
was she connected to this like arranged marriage in any way through like her family? No.
No, I mean it's like two worlds combining together. That's the arranged marriage part. Is that they're bringing together like a
It's like a
truce.
truce, like, you know,
Oh.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
That makes no sense then.
because 'cause they're, like,
Maybe they're
killing each other, and
maybe
so they're like,
we're done killing each other.
yeah,
Let's
we're
just
gonna
like
send
rebuild.
yeah.
maybe Jacob was the only like werewolf that this person could
I
think
think
of.
that's what it is.
Are you for real?
Like
Like, BFFR, you need a better repertoire.
that's the only werewolf you know.
Like, there are some really good werewolf books out there.
You can just tell that the Jacob and Renesmee thing stuck with this person. They were waiting for the first thing to tie it to.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't have been this.
And this did not serve.
That was funny.
That is funny. I can't even be mad at that.
Okay.
And then for Kiara, your last one is you have Powerless by Lauren Roberts.
Mhm.
Your 1-star review for Powerless says, disappointing. More than disappointing. The hype for this book infuriates me because if this is the standard is in hell. It was basically just an amalgamation
Big word.
popular tropes, and the main character was a carbon copy of every other generic YA lead to exist, lacking any flaws whatsoever.
Think so. I think Kai has flaws. I think he has very apparent flaws. And they come out when he's interacting with the main character.
Is he the main character?
He is, yeah, he's the male main
Well,
character.
does the main character, the girl main character, have flaws?
For sure. For sure. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we go back to the amalgamation of popular tropes. And they're a carbon copy of other YA leads to exist.
I feel like popular tropes are popular for a
Well,
reason.
can I just say,
People like
Yeah.
them.
have you ever heard of the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
Honestly. Yeah.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I would say, I think for Peyton, what's different about her specifically is that there has to be a level of confidence in the things that she does. There has to be. Whereas you think about like the Hunger Games, which this book is often referred to. Like, I think Katniss doubts herself every step of the way, but she's faking it till she makes it. Whereas I think Peyton has a lot of confidence in herself because she's put a lot of time into her skill. And that's what gets her through. Her smarts, her preparedness, her ability to read people. I mean, not a lot of people have that. I think that's different than a lot of YA main characters. And that's okay. We're allowed to like find some things that we like about YA characters in other books and evolve them and make them something new. So I think that this is just a review that kind of yucks someone's yum. Like, this is what people like. And I don't think it has to be that serious. Continue.
To continue with the review, it says, where's the originality? The world building? The character development? A good romance requires more than a few tropes and loads of cringy banter. Further, the writing was ridiculously poor and under-edited.
It's okay if you don't like the world building. It's okay if you don't like the world, but there was world building. You had to learn about it. You have to know the dynamics. There's people with powers. There's people that don't have powers. If you don't have powers, you're not elite enough to be a part of the world. They kill you off. They send your family off into this desert for you to die off on your own, or they kill you. So the fact that our main character has survived this long on her own with just the people that she creates a family with, I think that's, I think that speaks volumes. So to say that there's no world building, I think that you're just trying to find a problem, honestly.
Maybe they just didn't understand the world building.
And the character development, they're young. In like a dystopian, like fantastical society. We're in book 1 too. I think it's a trilogy. So there's gonna need to be some more further character development. Right now, we're learning. She's kind of thrust into, like, she's known this all her life, and then all of a sudden she has to be a part of a different, like, set of people. Kind of like with Pride and Prejudice. Now we're into the elites. This girl who doesn't know, like, anything but street skills.
Mhm.
Now she has to be with all these people who know a little bit more than her.
And we kind of touched on this already, but the review ends with, so it's really just the Hunger Games, but with powers and a bunch of tropes being thrown at each other.
There's one part of the book that has Hunger Games vibes, and it's just because they go on a trial. I said I love the Hunger Games vibes. I love, like, in some of these challenges. I think that the male main character was enamored with her from the beginning. Sorry. He's obsessed with her. I don't think that's a flaw, really. And also, I just kind of shut off my brain for this entire experience because I wanted to be thrust back into that space of YA novels that I just could exist in. I didn't have to question. If you wanted to question it, that's a different vibe to go in with, and that's okay. But I liked it. I do think that there was, like, a little truth lies debate, kind of similar to Xaden and Violet in Iron Flame, that I just don't love. But I know that it has to exist for us to have 2 more books after this. So that's all. Thank you.
Amazing.
All right.
Thank you.
For Hope, her 5th book is A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas, which I don't know how anyone would write a 1-star review about this book, but I will tell it to you.
Mhm.
This book has 600 plus pages of slog to get through.
Slog is a fun word.
I don't think there's a single word in that book that I considered slog.
That doesn't matter.
I understand how people would consider the sequel to be an improvement since the main character shows more agency and certain tropes are reversed, but the development was very on the nose and came at the expense of turning other characters into cartoonish villains. Someone was a Tamlin lover.
Yeah. Just say that
Sorry.
next time.
Did they get a Tamlin tattoo too soon?
Probably. They're feeling really defensive right now.
Dang. The writing suffered a lot from telling and not showing, especially when it came to the dialogue, where it mostly consisted of the main character asking questions, which would result in the other fairies answering via several pages of monologues in order to tell the exposition and characters' background stories.
She's never lived in this world. What do you expect her to do? Because if she didn't ask the questions and I didn't tell her the answers, you'd be bitching about something else.
Yep. Oh,
Sorry,
this
girl.
would be fine if I cared about anything in the book at all, but I don't. Well,
That seems like a you problem.
people hype this book up to be some trashy erotica, but there were only 2 sex scenes towards the end. Otherwise, the book is just a very boring fantasy story. So what you're telling me is you read it for the sex?
You have no
I
taste.
agree. There's not a lot of sex in here, and it does get portrayed as, like, fairy porn.
It does.
But
That is true.
and I haven't always agreed with that either, really.
Me
I was
neither.
like, okay, maybe not really,
No,
like maybe a little bit.
It's a romantasy.
Yeah.
It's romance and it's a fantasy and there is some spice. It is not the spiciest. But we read it for the love and the plot and the characters and the found family
Yeah.
and the
But if you would like a romantasy with a lot of spice, tune into other episodes where we talk about exactly that. Mhm.
sure, yeah.
Okay.
It baffles me that someone could not like this.
If you want someone to know it all already, read Fourth Wing, because Violet knows it all.
She knows it all. She's able to put 2 and 2 together real quick.
So she thinks it. She doesn't have to say it, but you still have to read it. So I don't know if that's going to be an issue.
Yeah. But also, I also think that you might get mad if someone would ask a question and someone else were to talk in riddles and not fully answer your question. So what more could you want than someone to answer exactly what you're asking them in a longer monologue? That's how you learn about the world.
It's part of world building.
Sometimes we don't learn by doing, you know? And I think she did a good, healthy mix of learning by doing and learning by people explaining things to her.
I thought so too.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. 5 stars. So
Honestly.
I'm really nervous for the next one.
Okay. So this is our last one, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is for Alyssa. This is The Ritual by Chantel Tessier. And so this is a dark romance, and Alyssa's very nervous about this one because people have a lot to say about dark romances.
People are very judgy about dark romance.
Keep in mind this person read the whole book and then wrote a 1 star. Here we go. You ever accidentally get hand sanitizer in a paper cut? That's what reading this book felt like.
I agree, it burned. I was burning.
I would rather shave my head than ever have to read this again.
That could be arranged.
If you have any enemies, tie them to a chair, tape their eyes open, and force them to read this out loud.
I mean, that sounds like an enemies to lovers. Sounds like a good time.
If you love this, though, like, I love that for you. This is a safe space.
Thank you.
We listen and we don't judge. It doesn't really sound like that, though.
I feel like I feel like my husband added that in because he felt like the other ones were too.
I was thinking when we were reading this, I was like, this is the one he thought was too mean.
Yeah.
Kink after kink, writing another kink. Definitely not a romance. I'm occasionally into pure erotica, but this was not it. No substance to the plot. Characters were as bland as my diet. Nothing made sense. Girl, what are you eating?
Your diet is your
Season it.
choice. Crazy. Bland is my diet. Was that like a flex? Like, I eat kale and salad and work out, and like, this is not good.
I don't know, but it kind of made me laugh. Good for you.
I would disagree. This is definitely a romance. Like, they're falling in love in a situation where people aren't meant to be in love. You're supposed to do this out of duty. Like, women have a job to serve in this society, men have jobs to do, and women are supposed to be just one of those jobs that they do. And it's you would under it's kind of like arranged marriage, but not really, because they get to pick, but the women don't usually get to pick. Anyway, it's listen.
Wait, listen. We listen and we don't judge.
I know that it's a little rough and that they don't show their love in the most healthy ways, but they do love each other, okay?
I mean, it's a dark romance. What did you expect?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, here we go. We're rounding this review out. As a kid, I remember accidentally spraying perfume into my eyes. It was really painful. Today, I experienced the same while reading this book.
Well, I think it speaks to your intelligence that you would do the same thing twice.
I really like the similes and the metaphors of the pain that they felt while reading this. Honestly, for a book to make you feel that way, it had to have been powerful.
It is powerful. If you like dark romance, I highly suggest The Ritual. If you don't read dark romance, don't read it. I don't
read it.
Why do people I see that all over Book Talk all the time. People are like, this is depressing, this is crazy. Why would anyone want to read? Why are you starting with that one?
Yeah.
Read something a little lighter.
But also understand, if this is your first time reading a dark romance and you start with The Ritual, wanting to have your voice heard, because that's the experience that you went through. So I appreciate your 1 star review. It's how we, get to see a little bit of diversity in our reviews. Appreciate it. I like the humor in that review.
Yeah, that one wasn't too bad.
Overall, we know that that's not your cup of tea. I hope you don't go on to read any more dark romance unless you're ready for it.
Thanks for not calling me a weird fucker.
Yeah, it could have been so much worse.
It could have been.
Honestly. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us. Whether you agreed with our arguments or the 1 star reviews that we read, we hope you enjoyed this episode.
Follow us on all our socials at Totally Booked Readers so you can stay up to date on our most recent episodes and releases.
And we hope you take some time out of your totally booked schedules to join us next Tuesday for a laid-back episode where we're going to get together to yap and recap about what's been going on in our personal lives.
Bye.
Boom, baby.
Guys-